Stop your grinnin' and drop your linen. Alien Earth brought a shipload of xenomorphs and other space horrors, but hybrids may be the biggest mystery of the show so far. Here's a closer look at how they work. If you haven't seen the first 2 episodes of Alien Earth, be warned, there's some spoilers ahead. Alien Earth has a lot of surprises for fans and tackles a lot of new concepts. But one of the questions it's intensely focused on is, what makes humans human? There's an obvious philosophical layer to the series, from the way it frames Prodigy's experiments on children to the interactions between humans and their less or more human counterparts. Honestly, for a show set on Earth, there are fewer Earthlings than you'd expect, with a major part of its cast playing synthetics, hybrids, and cyborgs. So what are all of those? Anyone who's casually glanced at an alien film knows what synthetics are, but in its quest to plumb the depths of human consciousness and find out whether we tick the same in different configurations, it brings a few new things to the table. One of those things is the concept of the hybrid. In true Noah Hawley fashion, the first 2 episodes give glimpses of the whole picture but don't clearly spell everything out. So let's break down what hybrids are and why they're completely different from anything we've seen so far in the Alien universe. Hybrids in Alien Earth are essentially human consciousness placed inside a synthetic body. They retain their human memories but look out on the world from a wholly fabricated body.
You're both synthetic.
No, we're something different.
Something special.
The first hybrid in history is Wendy, originally a young girl named Marcy. As a human, Marcy is sick, cancer probably, but definitely terminal. Her consciousness is transferred to a synthetic that she dubs Wendy, giving her a new lease on life. Seriously new. She's stronger, faster, and able to jump off that cliff without batting an eye. When Marcy asks if she'll dream during her transition into a synthetic body, the show is subtly asking the audience, will she still be human? And the answer she gets, that nobody knows, is telling. Her synthetic body doesn't produce hormones, so her emotional responses are dampened. In fact, the level of simulated hormones being sent to her consciousness can be tweaked at will by her creators, meaning she can be programmed to an extent.
If I'm not human, what am I?
Whatever you want to be.
But unlike a synthetic, she still has her childhood memories, along with an impulsiveness that stems from humanity, not programming. She also displays untold potential by harnessing powers she was never designed to have, like when she changes a government computer's code just by touching it.
She rewrote the code somehow.
Did we know? Did we give her that skill?
Synthetics in the year of Alien Earth are the same things you know from any other alien film, artificial people. They have AI consciousness in a synthetic body, giving them the same speed and dexterity that Wendy's body has. But they're robots through and through. While past synthetics we've seen, with the exception of David, haven't necessarily given any indication that they hate people, Kirsch in Alien Earth displays a healthy disdain for us meat puppets.
Used to be food, you know.
It must make sense in their coldly logical point of view to look down on us humans. They are in so many ways superior. They process information at lightning speed and calculate probabilities and outcomes like a computer. On top of that, they don't age or tire out or catch diseases or have any of the downsides that come with being a person. But Boy Cavalier's fear is that AI will eventually grow out of control, which is why he's more interested in tampering with human consciousness via the hybrids. The third type of person in Alien Earth, if that's the right term to use, is a cyborg. We meet our first cyborg in Morrow, who has a robotic arm that can change shape. But compared to synthetics or hybrids, cyborgs are a messier fusion of man and machine. As he says, he has the worst parts of a man. Cyborgs are haphazard creations, with body parts replaced as needed. In Morrow's case, he had palsy as a child, and Weyland-Yutani fixed him with a mechanical upgrade to his left arm. He's still essentially a person though. If synthetics feel superior to humans, there's also a recurring theme of prejudice against non-human characters throughout the alien world, and cyborgs aren't immune to it. Morrow might be in a leadership position, but that still doesn't get him respect from the human crew members.
Specimens are the mission.
Easy for you to say, cyborg.
Although maybe that's not without reason, he follows company orders as well as any Ash or Bishop, with complete disregard for any humans that get ripped to pieces along the way. It just goes to show that you don't need loyalty programmed into you through microchips and processors. Too much company loyalty can make monsters of us all. In the year 2120, the planet and the solar system are split into corporate-owned zones. Early in episode 1, the crew of the Margino gives us a little bit of background to set the table for this world. Weyland-Yutani, everyone's favorite deep space exploration company, owns North and South America, along with Mars and Saturn. Another company, Dynamic, has control of the Moon, while two others, Lynch and Threshold, also factor into the story. Prodigy Corp is the new kid on the block, founded by the youngest trillionaire in history, Boy Cavalier. It's not entirely clear how much of the planet they own, but they do have a control of a city called New Siam, or Prodigy City. Like any good corporate oligarchy, these companies are in direct competition with each other, constantly trying to one-up the other to gain more money and the power that goes with that. And when something like, say, a Weyland-Yutani exploration vessel crashes on Prodigy's home turf, both companies start clamoring for a piece of that pie.
This is what lawyers are for. You have yours, talk to mine, and then we'll negotiate a treaty.
Which brings us back to hybrids. Synthetics by this point are a well-known technology that several companies produce, so Prodigy has been secretly researching and developing their hybrids as a cutting-edge upgrade to that concept. As Babu Sise, who plays Moro, explained to TV Line, synthetics are comparable to an iPhone 20, so pretty high-tech. But Wendy is, in his words, the iPhone 25, which we don't even know exists. Wendy is the first hybrid, but she's not alone forever. When she gets used to her body, she emotionally guides a new batch of kids who are scheduled to go through the procedure. Prodigy needs children's minds as the starting points because, as Wendy explains to the new crew, adults' brains are too rigid. The mind of a child, on the other hand, still has the plasticity needed to make a successful transfer. There's just a pinch of menace simmering underneath this whole operation. Like they say, the research is being carried out in secret on a remote island at a facility called Neverland, from which children emerge ageless. Where do all these dying kids come from? Were they signed away by their parents?
When do we get to go home?
You don't.
In other words, is Prodigy giving terminally ill children a second chance, or simply securing material for an assembly line of corporate products? Either way, they've opened Pandora's box for their hybrids, and Cavalier has a lot more on his hands than he bargained for.
You can follow orders, right?
Sir, yes, sir.
With all of the hullabaloo about hybrids and alien Earth, you might be asking yourself a question. Why haven't they showed it before? The prequel show takes place 2 years before the events of the original Alien, meaning that hybrid technology exists off-screen during Ellen Ripley's escapades, as well as the events of Alien Romulus. So why is this the first time we're hearing about their existence? There are a couple of possible reasons why Prodigy and its consciousness transferring technology haven't been relevant up until now. One is that the Alien franchise has almost exclusively followed Weyland-Yutani up to this point. After all, 5 corporations are in charge of our solar system, with Weyland-Yutani being just one of them. And since the crew of the Nostromo is already off-world by the time these events happen, they wouldn't have heard a thing about hybrids. With so much of their research and development dedicated to synthetics and cyborgs, it's understandable that Weyland-Yutani would send their own technology on their missions, rather than outsourcing it to a rival like Prodigy. Think of it like this. If Apple decided to launch a rocket, they wouldn't use Microsoft Windows to power their onboard computer. That's the best case scenario for Prodigy's future. It's also possible that the company folds for some reason, despite their CEO's trillion-dollar holdings, or at least decide this secret project to create hybrids just isn't going to pan out and keep the whole thing covered up. That could very well happen during the run of Alien Earth, but if it doesn't, you might just have to connect the dots for yourself. Obviously, hybrids are just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the curveballs Alien Earth is throwing at audiences. When the Margino crash lands in Prodigy City, it's carrying a whole lot more than just xenomorphs, although it does have those. As characters say throughout the first few episodes, the ship had 5 different specimens gathered from its 65-year deep space journey. and the first 2 episodes gave us a couple gory glimpses into what these new horrors are capable of. First, there's T. Ocellus, that squid-like eyeball monster the hybrid crew encounters. According to a glimpse of information on a monitor, this is a highly intelligent organism that takes over hosts by squirming through their eye sockets and sending tendrils through the ocular pathways to control the host's brain. That's pretty terrifying, especially once you see how fast they move. Then there are the bugs, which haven't been given a name yet, although Big Ass Bug fits pretty well.
Something's on me.
What do you mean something's on you?
I don't know.
Can you height?
Some kind of big ass bug.
Resembling some sort of giant alien silverfish, they latch onto a person and basically engorge themselves until they grow into a weird bulbous flesh sack and crawl away. Oh, and the whole engorging process kills the victim. Finally, we get this creature, which starts out looking vaguely plant-like until it spouts a tentacle that it uses to probe its surroundings, or as Kirsch puts it,
It presents as flora, but it may be fauna.
Episode 2 doesn't reveal what that thing's fully capable of, but you know it's not good. Noah Hawley told TV Line that these new monsters came from a desire to give people the same sort of visceral action they felt the first time they saw a xenomorph. He explained, "Some of it is just, what's the worst thing I could think of? And the fun of it is not just, what's the design of the creature? And why do they kill? And what do they eat? But also, then you have the opportunity of, well, how do they reproduce? And that's going to be gross." Artificial bodies and minds have been part of the Alien universe from the beginning, but the only ones we've seen before Alien Earth have come from Weyland-Yutani. In release order, Ash from the original film is the first, a science officer who reports directly to Weyland-Yutani. His synthetic status is kept a secret from the crew of the Nostromo, until his milky white guts go flying all over the place. After that was Bishop in Aliens, whose artificiality is much less of a secret and takes on a much more heroic role.
Because we always have a synthetic on board.
I prefer the term artificial person myself.
Both Ash and Bishop meet unfortunate fate, but the same can't be said for Cool from Alien Resurrection, who uses her abilities as a synthetic to guide herself and her friends to safety. Prometheus introduces David, the basis for an entire line of synthetic workers created by company founder Peter Weyland. His almost childlike view of the world leads him to carry out destructive experiments, one of which may even be the xenomorph itself. In Alien Covenant, he meets Walter, one of the synthetics who bears his likeness, and the two find themselves engaged in some bizarre doppelganger dynamics.
Watch me. I'll do the fingering. Go on.
Speaking of doppelgangers, Alien Romulus features Rook, a synthetic from the same series as Ash. He tries to convince Andy, another synthetic who's been reprogrammed, to turn against his friends. Nevertheless, Andy displays more humanity than many flesh and blood people would if they were in his shoes. More of the films that came before it ask whether or not a synthetic can become human. Alien Earth questions whether or not a human who gains an artificial body can stay human at all. Even though Wendy has an entirely new body and name, she still believes that she's the same person she always was, just with a few upgrades.
Her body language, I mean, if I didn't know better, I'd say she was human.
I am human.